and welcome back to our next subject, what is right, al-ma'ruf. What is right, al-ma'ruf? The Arabic term for phrase what is right, al-ma'ruf, is derived from the verb irafa, irafa, whose diverse forms are used 72 times in the book. The most important cognates are ma'ruf, urfun, ta'aruf, ma'rifa, and irafa, each of whom will be briefly defined. Ma'ruf has two meanings: known, widely accepted, known, widely accepted, recognized. B, to do kindness, to render others a service. Urf has several meanings. A, the opposite of nukr, denial, disavowal, that is beneficence, kindness. B, the highest part, top of something, for example, the comb of a rooster. C, conventional practice, customs, traditions, that has come to be widely accepted. Ma'ruf, al-arf means fragrance, perfume. Ta'aruf means mutual understanding, acquaintance, and peaceful coexistence, both between individuals and between groups, states, and nations. It constitutes the purpose of Allah's creation, as we are told in Hujurat. Ma'rifa refers to the relationship that is perceived in the human intellect between the different manifestations and properties of this existence, or in a more philosophical sense, to the relationship between objective reality and human consciousness. Knowledge, ilm, is what feeds this relationship with data from the external, social, and objective reality. The book never uses the phrase ma'rifatullah, only ilm Allah, because God's knowledge does not need to be fed with data, since He already knows everything. He does not need, as humans do, a theory of knowledge, an example, methodology of how to acquire data and how to perceive knowledge. Knowledge itself can be either known, zahir, or hidden, makhfi. Irafa also means all the knowledge, such as that of fortune tellers. Irafa means false knowledge, such as of the fortune tellers, card readers, or palm readers, divinatory fraudsters, as among Sufi groups. Some pretend to perform miracles, while other claims to receive supernatural knowledge by meditation, contemplation, and other aesthetic practices. Only very few can be considered true knowers, arifun. Most of them are just fortune tellers. True knowledge, on one hand, is a deep longing whose subject matters exerts total control over the seeker, who is never distracted by anything and who has no desire for wealth, rank, or power. On the other hand, producing false knowledge is perhaps the oldest trade in human. It is a mistake to believe that irafa knowledge died out. It still exists and trades its old false knowledge under new names, wrapped up in a different cloak. What is wrong? Al-munkar. We go to part B. What is wrong? Al-munkar. The Arabic term for phrase what is wrong, al-munkar, is derived from the verb nakara, nunkara, whose diverse forms are used 37 times in the book. The most important cognates are munkar, nakir, nukra, and inkar, each of which will be briefly defined. Munkar refers to the opposite of ma'ruf, that is, to everything that rational beings regard as shameful or repulsive, and everything that a society agrees to eradicate from its traditions or customs. According to the book, absolute taboos are exactly those shameful, repulsive acts of munkarat. Nukr has several interconnected meanings: difficulty, restrain, restriction, siege. B, a farewell, fortified stronghold. C, deterrent, punishment, or rebuke. Nukr refers to an extremely foul thing that every soul despises and tries to prevent. Nakira is a grammatical term used for an indefinite noun or unknown person or a nameless human being. People say about such a person without any individuality that he is neither this nor that. Inkar means negation, rejection, and denial. The rejection of grace is a kind of denial, but the negation of one's own ego is a form of altruism, and such is a laudable act. How to prescribe what is right and how to proscribe what is wrong today. Before we're able to define the proper meaning of prescribe what is right and proscribe what is wrong for today, we need to explain two other related aspects. One, harshness, fadada. The book warns that were you severe faddan or harsh-hearted, ghalidan al-qalb, they would have broken away from about you. Al-Imran 159, implying that if someone prescribes what is right and proscribes what is wrong in a harsh-hearted manner, that is, if he talks to people in a rude and patronizing way, the people will not listen, but rather run away from him. In this context, harsh-hearted means dull-witted stupidity. It refers to more to the brain than to the heart, the organ that pumps blood through the body. Even though the heart is indeed in people's breasts, its functioning is controlled by the front part of the cranium that works from behind our forehead. Truly, it is not their eyes that are blind, but their hearts which are in their breast. Hajj 46. 2. Compulsion, duress, ikrah. The book makes it clear that under duress, neither belief nor unbelief can be accepted as authentic or valid. Anyone who, after accepting faith in God, utters unbelief, except under compulsion, his heart remaining firm in faith. Nahl 106. The book mentions variations of the term ikrah over 40 times, expressing the notion of dislike and detestation, and also of pain and hardship. The notion of dislike is mentioned first in Baqarah 216, a verse that will be further discussed on qital, and mentioned last in the context of the pagan's detestation of the true religion. The sense of aversion to accept anything under pressure is expressed in Hud's speech to his people. He said, "My people think if I did have a clear sign from my Lord and he had given me grace of his own, though it was hidden from you, could we force you to accept it against your will?" Laha karihun. Surah Hud 28. The meaning of pain is stated in, "We have enjoyed on mankind to his parents. In pain did his mother bear him, and in pain, kurhan, did she give him birth." Ahqaf 15. The term ikrah means compulsion, duress, and also, as we see in chapter 11, verse 28, a force against a person's will. The prohibition of ikrah is not only mandatory within the realm of prophethood and hence the realm of personal responsibility on the Day of Judgment, but also within the realm of messengerhood, as and expressed in many verses of the book and in numerous hadiths. If it is true that a contract of sale or any other business contract is invalid, if it is signed under duress, that an oath of allegiance to the ruler is worthless if it is given under compulsion, that a marriage contract is null and void if it is done by force, and if it is true that a statement of belief in God, his angels, his books, and his messengers is false, if it is not given wholeheartedly and voluntarily. How can it then be right that people use force and swing a whip when they prescribe what is right and prescribe what is wrong? Let us now return to the question of how to define, to prescribe what is right, and to prescribe what is wrong. The following three verses will help in this. 1. Let there arise out of you a band of people invited to all that is good, prescribing what is right and prescribing what is wrong. They are the ones to attain felicity. Al-Imran 104. 2. You are the best of people evolved for mankind, prescribing what is right, prescribing what is wrong, and believing in God. Al-Imran 110. 3. They believe in God and the last day. They prescribe what is right and proscribe what is wrong, and they hasten an emulation in all good works. They are in the ranks of the righteous. Al-Imran 114. We notice that the task of prescribing what is right and proscribing what is wrong is coupled with the invitation to all that is good and with the condition to believe in God. Also, the three verses mention four interconnected things: A, to call to do good works; B, to prescribe what is right; C, to prescribe what is wrong; and to call and D, to call to believe in God. And finally, these elements are connected by the conjunction wa, and implying that it is a connection between four inseparable items that cannot be considered in isolation to one another. What connects the four elements is the notion that none of them must be forced upon people. Their common denominator is the absence of compulsion. We should also not forget that this is a description of a band of people who are praised as the best of people, enjoying the ranks of the righteous. The counter image of those who are idolaters, pagans, and heathens. We now include three more verses. 1. The believers, men and women, are protectors one of another. They prescribe what is just and proscribe what is evil. They observe regular prayers, practice regular charity, and obey God and His apostle. Tobah 71. 2. Those that turn to God in repentance, that serve Him and praise Him, that wander in devotion to the cause of God, and that bow down and prostrate themselves in prayer, that prescribe good and proscribe evil, and observe the limits set by God. Tobah 112. Number 3, they are those who, if we establish them in the land, establish regular prayer and give regular charity, prescribe the right and proscribe wrong. With God rests the end and decision of all affairs. Hajj 41. These verses attach even more things to the task: to prescribe what is right and to prescribe what is wrong. To prescribe what is right and to proscribe what is wrong. A, to believe in God as above. B, to preserve prayers. C, to practice charity. D, to obey God and His messenger in what they have ordered and prohibited. E, to observe the limits set by God. We notice that the task to observe prayers and to practice charity either precede the task to prescribe what is right and to proscribe what is wrong. Again, we understand that the conjunction wa and is meant to connect different things, and that it does not imply a hierarchy of importance. And yet some of the tasks mentioned are practiced purely on a personal level: believe in God, prayer, obedience to God and His messenger, while others are practiced both on a personal and collective level: to prescribe what is right and to prescribe what is wrong, to practice charity, to observe the limits of God. If they are practiced on a collective level, they need to be organized, properly administered, and controlled. But neither on a personal nor on a collective level it is allowed to apply pressure, force, or compulsion. We thank you for following this part of what is right, al-ma'ruf, and we will follow up next with how the fuqaha and ulama have misconstrued the Quranic phrase. We will follow up with that next.